Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate you going out of your way to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me out a lot and really gets a lot more eyes on the channel. So thank you for that. Now let's talk about a soft plastic jerkbait that you may never have heard of, or if you have, you know what I'm talking about, but it is a jerkbait that has a paddle tail on it. Now this is your typical Fluke style bait, but instead of the Fluke tail, it has a paddle tail on it. You know, the Strike King makes a caffeine shad that has that straight tail, that trick worm style tail on it. Great bait, but what I really like about this paddle tail is I can work this bait extremely slow while keeping it close to the surface. So there's that time in the post spawn where water column I think is super important. You want to keep your bait right underneath the surface. And then there's types of cover, types of situations where you don't want to work that bait too fast. So the first one that comes to mind is lily pads. Anyone that's ever fished lily pads knows how hard it is to get fish out of lily pads when they get wrapped around the stems. You may think your bait or your fish is right here. You go to your line and the line comes off the stem and you're way over here. It's just a really bad situation when you get a fish wrapped up in lily pad stems. Now, the reason I bring that up is most of the time I like to fish lily pads with like a swim jig on braided line, a horny toad soft plastic buzz bait on braided line with a big hook, or maybe a buzz bait, all baits where you can get fish out of the pads quickly. You know, I like to flip them around the springtime as well, but I like baits where when they eat it, I can yank them right out of there. Unfortunately, that's not always going to be the bait that catches fish. There are days where it's slow and they just won't touch any of those baits, and you need something that you can fish slow. The problem with just your standard Fluke is that bait wants to dart down to the bottom. You know, if you can fish it slow, but a lot of times it sinks really quickly. So if you're trying to jerk it and let it pause, it's gonna go down to the bottom. This bait with that paddle style tail, you can fish it really slow and it kind of just sits there. And for whatever reason, you can keep this bait right where you want it without it going down into the lily pad. So it's one of those baits anytime you're around floating vegetation, any type of submergent vegetation, or emergent rather, vegetation, you can keep that bait up in the water column. And that's very important for maybe you're looking for fish and you're on a big flat, maybe you're in the back of a creek, a big point, maybe you're just fishing a lake that has a lot of flat water where there could be spawning fish, and you don't want to be paying attention to your bait. You throw your bait out and twitch, but you know it's going to stay up in the water column, and then you can just be looking for bedfish. It's a great bait for that when they won't touch a devil's horse, they won't touch a rogue, and you need something that's not going to be all over the place. It just kind of stays in one place. And then when that bait sinks, real slowly, a lot slower than a regular Fluke, that tail just moves. Now, this is one of those baits, I don't think I would have ever thrown it. I don't think I would have ever figured it out, but I was a co-angler in a tournament 15 years ago, and we were sitting in the boat basin before the tournament, and a guy came by and he said, "Hey, you got any of those baits?" And the guy yelled, "Yeah, I got some of them. I'll tell you what they are in front of everybody." He said, No. So he came over there. The guy dumped like 50 of these in this other guy's boat. And the guy that got these dumped in his boat, he won the tournament on this specific color, so I had to buy some. And June bug is just an awesome color in tannic water. But he caught 24 pounds. This was on Lake Okeechobee 15 years ago. And that's what keyed me in on this. And then I realized that, wow, when you get around certain types of cover and you don't want your bait sinking to the bottom, you kind of want it to just stay there. You know, almost exactly like a rogue, but a soft plastic version of it. This is a deal that you just can't get with your caffeine shad or your normal Zoom Super Fluke. And I think for that reason, most people would say it's the same thing. It's not, and a lot of people don't throw it for that reason. So it's one of those baits where it doesn't get seen a lot. Their Gambler is the company. It's called a Flappin' Shad, and they don't have a humongous pro staff. So if someone's not on your pro staff and they win a tournament on your bait, they're going to probably keep it to themselves. And it's just one of those secret baits that doesn't do what all the other baits do. So It's an awesome bait for a lot of different situations. If fishing around the post spawn and the spawn, it's a bait that I always have in my boat. So try a Gambler Flap and Shad, completely different than all other soft plastic jerk baits, and it's just an awesome bait. So try that. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.